What if the next breakthrough in accessibility didn't come from a law or a checklist, but from AI? I'm your host, Marissa Bluestone, and I'm excited to share with you today a new segment that we have for the what and who. It's called AI Plus. Think about it as the intersection of AI and different aspects of education. AI plus assessments, AI plus digital literacy. And today we have AI plus accessibility. Today, we're kicking off this series with someone who's been at the heart of some of the most meaningful conversations about accessibility in higher ed. Rachel Comerford is the Senior Director of Accessibility at Macmillan Learning. She's helped lead everything from AI vetting to helping Macmillan Learning become the first higher ed company to become Global Certified Accessible. And she's here today to talk about where accessibility is headed next. So I welcome you to join us for our chat about accessibility. Thank you so much for being on the What and Who of EDU as we kick off our series AI Plus with AI Plus Accessibility. Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into accessibility.
Well, my name is Rachel Comerford, and I'm the Senior Director of Accessibility at Macmillan Learning. My job here is to make sure that students are getting accessible learning content and that our teams internally understand how to make that content and those platforms accessible. And I really got into it by accident. I was getting questions from customers that I didn't know how to answer, and I started to look into those answers more and more. And as I became more and more familiar with how to make content accessible, what was necessary for an accessible experience, it became my job more and more.
And let me just say you're great at it. Thank you for doing all of that. Selfishly speaking, since when I first joined Macmillan Learning, one of the first projects I worked on was with you as we were talking about how we became global certified accessible by Benetech. That was definitely a high in my career.
In mine too.
It's a great accomplishment. But back to accessibility and AI, we'll start with the basics. What are educators getting wrong about AI and accessibility?
So there are three things that come to mind when I think about what people are getting wrong about AI and accessibility. And it's the first is really the biggest, and it's that AI um, is treated as either like the answer to everybody's accessibility questions, or like it's the end of accessibility altogether. Like nothing will be accessible again now that AI has taken over. Um, and we do love to approach technology this way. It's either the best or the worst thing that's happened to us. And AI, that what AI really is just another layer in a really complex learning ecosystem, right? So it has benefits, it has risks, and as users, I think we're responsible for mitigating those risks. The second thing that comes to mind for me is that a lot of educators underestimate the space that AI tools are already taking up in student lives. So they're using AI in a multitude of ways. And we can offer guidance, we can offer guide rails that are really necessary to use it effectively and to get accurate results, as opposed to just saying, don't do it. Um, and the last one, there's this question of accessibility being treated as kind of a feature check rather than an actual learning outcome. And this is really big. So a tool might technically support screen readers, but if it produces inconsistent structure, if it has an unclear summary for an output, if there's just the cognitive overload in terms of what it produces, it's going to fail many students with or without disabilities. So accessibility, it's not just about whether the tool like works with assistive technology, but about whether it's going to reduce barriers to understanding, it's going to engage students, and it's going to give them a sense of agency in their own classroom.
Thanks, Rachel. It sounds to me like instructors have a lot to think about when they're deciding what AI tools to use because of that, because of the potential cognitive load, because of the potential uneven output. What is a good way for instructors to vet the AI before they use it in class, to not only make sure that it meets the requirements, but also help support students on their learning journey?
It's hard, right? Because we can't expect everyone to be an accessibility expert any more than we can expect them to be an AI expert or a security expert or um, they're experts in their own fields. So the best thing that I can encourage people to do is ask really practical questions. Um, can students opt out of using this if it's not working for them? Is the output from the tool they're using consistent and is it well structured? Is it working with keyboard navigation? And is it working with screen readers? Is it working with any of the other assistive technology that's available in the classroom? Um, and can the student like customize what's coming out? Can they make it so that the tone that's being used reflects a tone that they're comfortable and familiar with, so that it's not we talked about cognitive overload. It's not producing too much content at once. It's um, piecing out that content and getting that at a good pace. Um, and those like it's important to acknowledge that that is part of what accessibility is, even if it's not part of the like requirements that instructors see. So it's not like you're not going to see a checklist for accessibility that includes that students need consistent output, right? Um, but you are going to see things like color contrast. You're going to see things like including closed captioning and audio description on videos, and all of those things are really important and part of the requirements that are out there for accessibility. But this is the consistent output, the well-structured output, the keyboard navigation, the students being able to customize, that's about their experience as students. It's about making education available to them. And it goes so far beyond just having this like checklist of things that are not accessible.
Well, we thought a little bit about how accessibility in AI is impacting students. Let's kind of move it back to instructors. Is there any big opportunity for them with AI and accessibility?
The biggest opportunity that I see, is to embrace universal design for learning in the classroom. So we talked about this checklist, these things that, instructors, like, have to do in order to make a course accessible. But once you, start thinking about universal design for learning or UDL, you start thinking about this wide variety of learning experiences. And accessibility starts to go beyond that checklist even further and take into account like this very human experience. And strangely enough, AI can really support this very human experience of learning. So if there's one thing that we know about it and disability is that no two experiences are the same. Everybody is learning in a different way. Everybody's experience with disability is different. And so the basic principles of UDL are really key for an accessible learning experience. They motivate students to learn. You are presenting them with information in a variety of ways, and you're letting them reflect back on what they learned, um, which gives them a chance to really process information. And AI can support this 'cause it's not expensive or time consuming to generate alternative approaches to presenting information anymore. You don't need to sit down and record an entire video. You can generate a video in minutes and then review it. So instructors can take this much more active role in providing alternatives to students and then in using their expertise in the subject matter to vet those alternatives rather than risk the students going off on their own and getting inaccurate information, to go back to what I said earlier.
So is there a place where instructors are already doing this in a really great way that could be a model for other instructors?
It's funny because I do think instructors are doing this, and I've heard interesting stories from instructors where they do things like create assignments for students where the assignment is have AI generate an entire essay. But the real work that you're going to do is going to be line by line, fact checking, editing, checking sources, all of this that's necessary in order to create reliable content so that they can get a better understanding just about what AI is producing. And the point is not that like these essays are going to be um, the high point of their academic career, but the point is to understand how research can be done using AI and what can happen if you're over reliant on it. And I think that's really amazing. But there are those instructors who sort of push back on that and they're like, I don't want this in my classroom. And the hard part about that is that students are already doing it. When I talk about, creating accessible alternatives in terms of universal design for learning, if you're not doing that for your students and vetting that information, they're doing it for themselves. They're asking ChatGPT to rephrase content that they don't understand. They're asking for help organizing lecture notes. Um, and it helps them get a better understanding of the material, but it also helps with the anxiety and the stigma of raising their hand and saying that they don't understand. So I think there's a real opportunity for instructors to jump in and embrace that.
Well, yeah, I think that those are all great points. And then there's the durable skills also that it's supporting like critical thinking in a way where students don't have to raise their hand, helping them to persevere on their learning journey. Which is again like if I'm shy, if I'm quiet, or if I'm not confident, I might not raise my hand in class. But if I take something and I'm using AI to make sure I'm getting things correct, it does take out a lot of the stigma of feeling like you need to go back and continue to ask questions over and over.
Yeah, and I think that that's a great, not obvious use for AI. Because I can say from personal experience, I had a lot of anxiety about like volunteering that I didn't understand something in the classroom. And it meant that I had to take these like very time consuming, very complex routes to understand information. Aging myself a little bit, but it involved actually walking to the library. Um,
Dewey Decimal
Heaven
System.
forbid. Yes. I knew how it worked. Um, and like that was great for understanding what I needed to understand. But at the same time, like I felt really alone. I thought I was sitting in a classroom, all my classmates understood what was going on, and I didn't. And so I had to find the answer because there was so much stigma around saying, I don't know. Um, and what I see as like an opportunity kind of in AI is that students can like dig in and ask it the questions that it needs to ask, that they're not comfortable asking in the classroom. Get more comfortable with the material, get more comfortable with how to ask those questions and what the responses might look like. And it's almost like a practice conversation. So the next time you go in a classroom, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable asking. And it's kind of what I discovered as a student by accident because you run into your classmates in the library and they're looking up the same thing you are. Or you're like going over your notes in a study group and somebody's like, I did not get this because it's easier to say that in front of two or three people than it is in front of 200 people. Um, so let's give them these tools for practice so that they can get more comfortable having these conversations.
Yeah. I mean, those conversations are hard, even when you're not a student. Admitting that you don't know something and volunteering that, it takes courage, I think,
Yeah.
quite often. We just talked about how AI can help students to persevere. We talked about how it can support students' critical thinking and even to help them raise their hand in a way that makes them feel more comfortable. Are there any other ways that AI can help learners in a way that traditional tools may not be able to?
I think so. Because traditional tools are static, right? the way that our classrooms are structured, the way that our physical textbooks are structured, um, there's no flexibility in it. And the beautiful thing about AI is that it is flexible. It can respond in real time. If you have an executive functioning challenge or processing difference, you can personalize that experience with AI, which is very different from your like physical textbook or even your ebook, which just is what it is and doesn't change. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that AI can do for students that traditional tools were not doing for them.
I think personalized learning is going to continue to become more and more important, especially as we start thinking about AI and its impact. But speaking of AI and tools, are there opportunities to improve them even more? Because they're not perfect, nothing is perfect. And then how should instructors kind of work around those challenges that are happening right now?
Yeah, I think I mean I can be very cynical when it comes to AI. And I think a lot of us are aware of the areas where AI can fall short. The hallucinations of being overly verbose, with the M dashes, with the inaccuracy. As an English major, I cannot help but point out the M dashes that were used incorrectly. Um, and just the lack of transparency. You don't know where the information is coming from. You don't know how it was generated. You don't know how it was trained. And those are all really legitimate issues when it comes to using AI. Um, so the reminder that I would give is that AI is a helper. It's a tool and not a replacement. Um, don't think AI is going to do it for you, but there are many AI tools out there that might help you along on your journey. So you can use it to draft instead of using it as the research authority. You can make sure that your students are getting that understanding of how to verify the output. It goes back to that idea of the instructors who are like, sure, let's do this. Let's use AI to generate your full essay. That's going to take you 5 minutes, right? But now put the AI away and sit down and go through this and understand where this information is coming from. Is it accurate? Is it well worded? Is it clear? Are there too many adjectives? Are there too few adjectives? Is there an over reliance on M dashes? Um, why is so much bolded in your essay? Like
Mm.
all of these things, little and big, have a massive impact in how effective the essay is. And also how much the student is actually getting out of it. I mean, a great follow up to that assignment is great. Okay, put your essays away. I'm going to ask you 5 questions about that topic. Did you learn something?
Yeah.
And maybe
Well,
they did, and maybe they didn't.
here's what I'll have to say. AI isn't just a tool for you to do your homework with. It's also an opportunity. Oh, my pet peeve is it's not just this, it's also that, which is something I'm seeing all the time come out of AI, and I've noticed it everywhere from LinkedIn posts to YouTube videos to everything, and it drives me absolutely batty. But yes, AI definitely has those flaws where it's gonna bold things. It's not just this, it's that. You're gonna see M dashes everywhere, and a good
There's a lot
way.
of repetitiveness.
Yes, it's very repetitive.
Yeah. And it like, as an instructor, I could see that driving me absolutely up the wall. Like, I am reading my 3rd essay that says it's not just in the opening paragraph. Um, and I like, I don't wanna read it anymore. Um, so, I mean, we also need to make sure that students are finding their own voice when they're writing and, changing language. Part of that, maybe that part of that assignment, part of that conversation is how many phrases are in your paper that are in 80% of the papers in the classroom? Where are we seeing that there's a lack of originality, a lack of unique form? And how can you as a student evolve there? Um, but it again, I feel it like it's all about sort of embracing that it's here, um, and saying, I'm gonna teach you or you're gonna learn about how it can help and how it can't. instead of going in that like one way or the other, like I talked about in the beginning, like AI can do everything for you, just press the button, or AI is terrible, it's banned from my classroom.
I had an instructor come on the podcast during season 1 and say something that really resonated, and that's not to let AI take your voice from you. For students, it's so important to know that AI doesn't know your story the way you do, and that's gonna continue to be something that's important to them. But you also talked about, how instructors can use AI. Is there a good starting point for them in AI because there's so much that could be done and they're seeing it so much? Is there a good starting point, a low risk starting point to support accessibility with AI, that doesn't add even more work to their plate?
Yeah, I mean, I think much like the way that students use AI, which, or at least the one of the ways we were talking about before, which is this idea that they're uncomfortable bringing up questions in the classroom, but they are comfortable bringing up questions within these technological tools. If you're not comfortable with AI yet, it doesn't have to be a public show of figuring it out, right? It doesn't have to be that you've generated all of your assignments using AI, or AI has written your syllabus for you. And then all of these students are coming up to you and pointing out to you that, you know, your self portrait has 15 fingers. Like, it doesn't have to be like that, right? So you can use it in the back end. You can use it as you're developing course materials, and it gives you a chance to just sort of like dip your toe in and play around. So you can use it to generate an assignment, or to take one of your assignments and write an alternative version of it. Doesn't even have to go to the students, but it gives you an idea of what the output is going to look like. It gives you an idea of the strengths and weaknesses. Maybe it's something you end up using. Maybe it's something you end up tweaking and using. And maybe it's something that's like, I would never use this to create assignments, but maybe I could use it to rewrite the intro paragraph of my syllabus to make me sound a little more friendly.
I'm wondering, and now that you mentioned that, is there a world where an instructor can put an assignment into AI and with the right prompt, ask it to help make the assignment more accessible? Like, is that something that could be done?
Yeah, definitely. Like, absolutely no question. N and I mean, like, there's little limitations, right? Like, um, any AI output, I will say this again and over again until I'm blue in the face. It has to be checked by a human. But
Yep.
this is the one of the greatest things about this technology is that you can say, "Okay, I am used to teaching my students this way. This is the way I've always presented the information. And in some cases, this is the way the information was taught to me and the way the information was taught to my instructor. But maybe there's an opportunity here. AI, tell me how else I can present this information."
Mm.
And the output could be so beneficial to students who are learning in so many different ways and are used to interacting with content in so many different ways. It can generate these alternative formats. It can generate alternative assignments. It can even help students to submit material in a different way. So if you've been assigning essays your entire teaching career, and finally one of those students says, "I don't feel really comfortable writing essays, but I think that I could prove to you that I understand this with a PowerPoint presentation." Give it a try. Why not? Like this is the basis of universal design for learning. And this is an AI is going to allow you this flexibility to change these assignments in ways that will allow you and your students to interact on a much deeper level than just throwing out the assignment and hoping it sticks.
I think that's so important, especially as instructors are looking to find ways to measure learning beyond traditional assessments, thinking through other ways to maybe teach them or check their knowledge. And AI could potentially give them other ways to think about it that they might not have done before, which is fun. Looking ahead, what AI and accessibility shifts should instructors prepare for in the next, say, 1 to 2 years?
I mean, in AI overall, I think that that push for transparency is going to continue to increase, right? We want to know more about sources. We want to know more about how the information is processed. Um, but for accessibility specifically, I really want to see it as a more serious consideration in the functionality of tools and in the output of tools. So coming at it from two different directions. There's this mentality when a new technology becomes really popular, which is move fast and break things, right? Let's do all the experiments. Let's see what breaks. Let's throw it out to customers. We're going to get a feel for what's working for them and what isn't. And the thing that I hate about that is that it means really like move fast and break things for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
Like the accessibility of the code, the accessibility of the user interface, that's often what gets left behind when you're moving fast. Um, because again, like we can't all be experts in accessibility, and you write the code as quickly as you can, and you are not putting the research behind it. So, as we see like this accessibility legislation, and penalties become more clearly defined, I see like less breaking things being a higher priority in the creation of AI tools. It's going to become more and more important to say, okay, I built this accessibly. The cool thing is that there are AI tools out there that will help you build accessible code as long as you make sure that a human is checking afterwards.
If we're talking about creating accessible things, we have to address like an elephant in the room. Just because you say it's accessible doesn't mean it's accessible. Are there any examples that you can think of AI features that folks think are accessible but aren't quite the accessibility win that they might think it is?
How long would you like for this conversation to be?
Um, a few examples. We'll go there.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. Um, so we talked a lot about it already, but like anything that introduces AI as the beginning, middle, and end of a process is something that you need to be wary of. So automated accessibility checkers are great. They do a number of different tests. They have some really reasonable and reliable outputs, but they're not going to catch everything.
Yeah.
And they are going to flag things that are not accessibility issues. And they're going to create confusion, which is why you need that human intervention at some point. Automated remediators, the same way. Any system that says, we're going to give you something that's 100% accessible and does not require a human to touch it, they are selling you a bridge in Brooklyn. I mean, the worst offender in my mind, though, is the one line of code is going to create an accessible experience on your website. It's not. No, oh God, if there was a one line of code that could fix all accessibility issues, I would be thrilled. But we have to remember how unique humans are in the way that they experience the world. And that any time that you're building anything with or without AI, you need humans in the process. They need to review the experience, need to provide feedback. They need to talk about how they're processing information, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And you just the failure in those tools is forgetting that your ultimate audience is a human, and you need to let them be a judge of what works for them, not the AI.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I've learned from you over our time working together, it's that there isn't you want accessibility. There is not that endpoint because tools keep changing, technology keeps changing, and what we know about best practices or UDL that continues to change. And I personally think of it as a journey. And I say that all the time. But it is a journey, right?
Yeah, you can check off all the boxes on your list and still have user experience issues. Like the people are at the center of this, and it's all about this human experience. And if you are not focusing on that, if you are too caught up in the exciting new technology and the new tools, then you are missing out on a huge audience.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question and then we'll call it good now. Thank you so much for your time with us. What is the one thing that you hope instructors never forget about using AI well?
That, like any other technology, it's about improving human experience, not replacing it. And that it is fine, it is good to approach it with both curiosity and cynicism, to be enthusiastic about it, but also to question it. Because the only way that we make these systems better for humans is by asking those questions, is by expressing that cynicism, is by digging in deeper, and figuring out what's going to work best for the humans that are on the other side of that screen.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, using a cliche, that at the end of the day, learning is a human experience and humans need to be in the room for it. Like everyone once thought, oh, education's going away because you can learn everything on the internet. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff available on the internet, but there's also a need to maybe understand it in a certain order, to create the context around it, to have that digital literacy to help you understand, like, ooh, maybe I should be a little bit skeptical about this. And that's the human part that I don't think AI will ever replicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We agree. Thank you so much for being on the Wetting of EDU, Rachel. I've so much enjoyed our conversation and look forward to talking to you again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
So, what did we learn today? Accessibility is about more than just getting ready for Title II, though that is important. So, here are my key takeaways. First, accountability is not a checklist. Rachel reminds us that real access isn't just screen reader capability, it's also clarity, consistency, and reducing the cognitive load for all students. If the tool is overwhelming or confusing, it's not accessible, no matter what the specs say. Second, AI is not the hero or the villain. It's just another layer in an already complex learning ecosystem. Third, universal design learning, or UDL, is a mindset. Rachel showed us how UDL can help instructors shift from how do I accommodate students to how do I make this work better for everyone from the very start. And finally, you don't have to be an AI expert to ask better questions. Whether it's vetting tools for your class or just rethinking your syllabus language, instructors have real power in how AI is showing up in the learning experience. So if today's episode gave you a new way to think about AI or accessibility, or AI and accessibility, follow the What and Who of EDU wherever you listen to podcasts, or leave us a quick rating, or share it with a colleague who might be wrestling with the very same questions that you are. I'm your host, Marissa Blaystone, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.